afternoon. My name is Anthony Kendall. I'm the Executive Director of the Mackenzie Art Gallery. We're pleased to open our doors and welcome you all here today, and to, on such a sad occasion, to mark the passing and celebrate the life of one of our brightest stars, Michele Sereda. Michele performed many times at the gallery, and of course, as you all know, she was a great supporter of so many organizations, communities, and individuals. She was a remarkable person. When I think of Michele, I am most struck by her ability to bring people together, her genuine interest in everyone she encountered, and the passion she brought to everyday life. Michele performed through life, showing how every day matters and how everyone matters. Michele was a great teacher of how to live, a life of art, empathy, sharing, and joy. We will truly miss her. We are pleased to host today's events at the gallery for many reasons. I feel that this is what Michele would have wanted. Through her life, Michele demonstrated how she believed in the healing power of art. Michele understood how art allows us to feel more deeply, to encounter the profound wonder of life, and at its best, to help us find meaning. French writer Maurice Blanchot wrote about the difficulty of engaging with or properly understanding death. It is true at times like this, it is difficult to find meaning. It is difficult to find a simple answer that makes sense or consoles us. Nevertheless, I hope together we can comfort one another today and carry on with art and life as Michele would have wished us to do.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Before we begin, my name is Heather Hodgson, and I was a good friend of Michele Sereda's. I've met many in the last week who have known her much longer than I did, and in all various categories. Somebody said I'm from her non-art world, so I met that person. They lived together in university. But I've known her for 20 years, and I'm very grateful for her friendship and everything she brought into my and my husband's life. But before we begin, I wish to say that though today is for Michele, we are very mindful of those who were affected by the losses of Morley Hartenberger of Coupar, Narcissus Blood, and Michael Green of Alberta, and Lacey Morin Desjardins, of course. All of those people are still in our hearts, I'm sure. Few housekeeping matters, unfortunately. I know nobody's got their cell phone on, so I don't have to mention that one. The washrooms, there's some there, and down adjacent to the gift shop, there's washrooms down that hallway, and there's some washrooms, I'm pretty sure, upstairs. We are live streaming this celebration of Michele's life today, and good news for those who also missed the live stream who aren't here, it will be uploaded to YouTube in time, so we'll have information probably on the Curtain Raisers Facebook page and Michele Sereda's Celebration Facebook page, so it'll be easy to access it just in time once they get it uploaded. There will be a reception upstairs following the celebration down here. More details a little bit later from Danny Fortier. And there's a gallery of Michele's life and art upstairs next door to the salon where the reception will be held. You'll definitely want to go and see some of her costumes and so on. There are two legacies now established to perpetuate Michele's vision and performance practice through support of like-minded artists and community collaborations. And we know what a trailblazer she was. I've never known anybody like Michele and the trail she blazed. I mean, she knocked me out of a semi-conscious state, I think, witnessing her art. It engages you in what on earth, you know, sometimes. Loved it. One of these legacies is at the University of Regina, and the other is at the Sask Arts Board. There are tables at the back, and there's information about both of these, and envelopes for donations, very easy to make. I have also shamelessly appointed Bernadette Wagner and myself to be kind of collection people today. We're going to be going around with a basket, or I got something for befitting Bernadette, just to kind of cover some of the costs or defray the costs for putting on today's celebration. So if you've got a loose loonie, we'll take it and just help the organizers defray some of those costs. Most appreciated. If you can't, no big deal. That's all right. But thank you anyway. We will be, more housekeeping, cleaning up on Monday, not today. They're going to kick us out of here at 5 o'clock. But tomorrow, I hope we can get volunteers to help us dismantle everything and get everything back in its place, because we want the family to be able to just go home, peace of mind, know that everything's taken care of. And I, along with Jeannie Ma, have agreed to kind of take control of that and make sure everything is done properly. I'd like to talk to you about the table beside me here. The urn was donated by ceramic artist Bonnie Gilmore of Meacham. She worked with and was friends with Michele for something like 25 years, the early days of curtain raisers. I spoke to Bonnie's husband, Charlie Ferrara, last night, and he told me that this urn has a name. It's called Happy, and I thought how fitting that is, since earlier in the week, when we were saying prayers for Michele and Lacey and the others at Bob Smoker's home, Bob announced immediately, without hesitation, she's happy, she's okay, she's happy. So this is fabulous, this urn. Bonnie Gilmore. The hand-embroidered Ukrainian tablecloth was contributed by Sophie, Michelle's mother, and her Prada glasses are here. She's got a white pair too, or a clear pair, so it's a nice presence with her photograph and the flowers of Michele. Our hearts will continue to be with Michelle's family, Sophie, her sister Karen, and brother Fred and their families, and Mo's family. Michelle's light dimmed drastically when she lost Mo, but her family is the center of her world and her friends, and she managed to get through that horrendous loss. Many friends and groups clamored to help Danny Fortier organize this celebration so Michelle's family could take care of each other in this most difficult, hard week following the tragedy. Danny's strength of purpose has astonished me, the way he has organized the rest of us to honor his stepmother in all the ways she so deserved. You will hear from Danny and some of the other family members a little bit later. But Michele is with Mo, and at the same time, her presence in this room is almost palpable, including upstairs with her costumes and all of the love in our hearts for that amazing woman. You know, you see leaders and people of, state, big funerals, but they didn't know the person. We knew her. She knew all of us. And she probably knew something particular about each of us. She was just a remarkable person whose friendships cut across race, class, everything. She just got along with everybody. And I've always said about her, she could ignite the creative spark in somebody who didn't even know they had one. That is a real gift. That's a real gift. So I've been deluged with emails and texts and Facebook posts about Michele, which we had planned initially to read, but we'd be here for 3 days. Honestly, so I've printed them all, and they will go in the legacy book that's back on the table that the paper umbrella so kindly got going, and there's some wonderful tributes in there for Michele and I believe Lacey as well. I'll be adding those emails, and so those of you watching by live stream, trust me, I will get them in there. Late last night, I got an email, and it's the only one I'm really and truly compelled to read. As I was reading it, I could honestly hear Michele saying, "Heather, you are totally reading that at my celebration." And the reason is, it's because it's what was coming up and her plans for some spectacular conference that was coming up. The email was from a friend that she met in an airport. I remember when she told me about this, near the baggage. His name is Larbi Siddiqui, and he's a writer and political scientist and lecturer on the other side of the world in the Middle East. He's engaged in topics that have to do with democracy and the Arab world, human rights, the dialogue between Western and Islamic civilizations. Right up Michelle's alley, right? You bet, I've heard all about it. The two are planning a multifaceted conference with FNUC involved and various others. It included academic and performance works on the subject of the promotion of peace. So that was what was coming up. So I have to read Larbi's email, and I'm going to read every word of it, actually. I'm an editor, I'm dangerous, but I'm going to read every word of this. This is from Larbi Siddiqui. When I first encountered Mitch, she was a person my age in blue jeans and leather boots, blonde-looking, and prettier than Kate Blanchett. It was at a Heathrow airport by the luggage conveyor belts. My hand luggage indicated I had arrived from a Middle Eastern destination, a jute bag of sweets from a famous patisserie in Beirut decorated with Arabic script. She was compellingly engaging and imposing, even though in the span of 5 minutes she managed to offend me thrice. She joked about how lucky I was, since she heard Middle Eastern pilots knew only how to take off. She mistook Arabic for Hebrew. Then she tried to soften the blows administered in a few minutes to add that she did not think I looked like Binny, to learn later that Binny is Bin Laden. I never knew that before. Maybe that is the kind of humor passengers suffer from after a 10-hour transatlantic flight to Europe. Mitch's brilliant spontaneity had people stunned. Whilst the rest of us looked grumpy and tired whilst waiting for suitcases, Mitch entertained 2 kids, tried to teach them dance steps under the guise of a bemused and smiling mother. It was delightful to watch. Near the green-marked exit gate, we crossed paths and chatted again. She joked about whether I was trying to pick her up. I replied that all I was interested in was her suitcase to pick up and place on my trolley, simply being a good Samaritan. The rest is history. We sat in a cafe in the arrival hall, and she ended up eating most of my sweets. They were gifts for friends in London. But from sweets to a sweet friendship that preceded the Arab Spring by 4 years. Words cannot capture the essence of this loss. Mitch was larger than life and transcended in her nobility of intention, being, action, emotion, thought, and purpose any stage mortals can design, be it theatrical, mythic, imaginary, or territorial. From planes to cars, as I read tearfully the tragic end to 4 talented lives, endowed with the charity of spirit and voluntary ethos, that is the best death in the line of duty, in the service of community harmony, and of course, theater and dance in its purest sense. That is, devoid of commodification and commercial gain. Mitch thus represents a unique creature for whom the metaphor of journey and travel offers clues to the type of humanity she sought to embody artistically, morally, culturally, and socially. This metaphor for me situates her in the heart of her endeavor of self-definition. This is integral to her epic travel from her Ukrainian ancestry, history, mythology, and folklore to a supranational artist concerned with questions of identity formation, communal harmony. We all know about the First Nation peoples from whom she extracted meaning, wisdom, warmth, self-sacrifice, and fluidity, instead of the fixity that the more negative aspects of modernity tend to inflict on most of us. You see why she wanted me to read this, eh? She loves this language. Through her journey, indeed, that attractive and most beautiful fluidity and in-betweenness, some scholars call liminality, Mitch sought constructions of arts that spoke to the bigger picture, a form of humanistic heroism, as it were. For much of her journeying and homecoming tended to center on how the normative, the should be, not only when performing her art, but also in building bridges to the other, the First Nations, the African, the Arab, to the Canadian identity she embraced so patriotically and yet so critically. To that end, Mitch died, and so did 3 of her dearest colleagues and friends. Together, they were seeking to explore a cultural imaginary and open up a shared space via their arts in order to invent and perhaps plot a revolutionary medium of community outreach. Mitch was curious about Fanon's Wretched of the Earth, about power knowledge, about the Arab Spring, about ethics in theater, dance, and even politics. Her reconceptualization of arts leaned towards a transportable set of ethicist, humanist, and cultural values as media of travel in an imaginary journey of motion and emotion, values and thoughts, dance and performance as vital processes for expressing the best in humans, the most sublime values of all, community, justice, and the championing of difference within the uniformity that is humanity. I want to tell 3 things I shall always remember about Mitch. They are states of mind and soul. She loved what she did, lived and died for it. That comes with much commitment, self-belief, and talent. She was never embarrassed about admitting failure or ignorance. The only other sage this caliber is Socrates, who stated to the Athenians that all he knew was that he did not know much. She devoured books I proposed to her when we discussed ideas such as Fanon's masterpiece, The Wretched of the Earth, and she was curious about the birthplace of the Arab Spring, Tunisia, and was at the time of her death in touch with people in Tunisia to travel there with her co-performers and do the dance of rebellion against injustice. Mitch's highest value was difference. It did draw her attention and cultivated her sense of curiosity. Most importantly, Mitch was remarkably loyal to Canada, her region, her town, her friends, and her second home and people, the First Nations communities where she worked and spent time meditating, learning, and healing. I never heard her disparage anyone, despite dropping dozens of names in our chats over a long period of years. That is unique. Mitch's aesthetics is more or less along the lines of committing to arts that cognize the ugliness, hatred, and violence of the world we live in and staging them via beautiful, pleasant, and wonderful dance and performance. In the Quran, human souls go through a journey from the womb to the world, then the grave, and ultimately the hereafter. Other religions have similar conceptions of this journey. The journey does not end here. Mitch joins others, maybe dancers in paradise. In the Quran, the Noble Book of Islam, in the chapter Al-Fayr 89 states, "O you satisfied soul, return to your Lord, pleased with yourself and pleasing to him. Enter among my servants and enter my paradise." Mitch, may you rest in peace and continue your journey. Larby. So they had forged a friendship and were working and planning on this conference of peace involving many other people, as Mitch always did. And I couldn't help but want to read that from Larby, since it kind of captures her intellect, her creativity, her big heart, her bridges that she built between people. So I'm sure you probably appreciated it as much as I did. Now I've lost my place. I think next we want to call up, so I have lost my place, bear with me. Carly Steele. Yes, Carly Steele is on the Curtain Raisers board. Many people have served on the Curtain Raisers board over the years. I was on the board for about 10 years, and even when you get off the board, she gets you to do stuff, or she got us to do stuff. Always a pleasure. If Carly is in the room, sneaking up behind me. Okay, Carly Steele.
Hi, good afternoon. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Curtain Raisers, I would like to express our deepest condolences to the family, friends, and collaborators of Michele Sereda, the artistic director and force behind this organization. Michele's work flew across the worlds of theater, performance art, and movement. With Curtain Raisers, she collaborated with artists from Saskatchewan, Canada, and beyond. Through her tireless work in the arts, she was able to bridge, touch, and connect with so many diverse people and arts organizations. In many ways, Michele's personal vision and life's mission were expressed and delivered through the work of Curtain Raisers, her baby. For the past 20 years, Michele and Curtain Raisers lived to nurture exploration, experimentation, diversity, and innovation, to create and produce new work with many different artists across disciplines, to encourage the cross-pollination of knowledge and artistic practices, to collaborate with and support other artists and organizations to expand and share creative processes, and of course, because this is Michele, to have fun. Michele valued you all as collaborators, fellow artists, and friends. On behalf of the board, we too would like to thank you, the community, for your support of Curtain Raisers and its work. On her behalf, we send our love to her friends and collaborators across the world who couldn't be with us here today. Curtain Raisers would also like to express our sincere condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of the others who were taken that day. We have all suffered an immense loss. And I'd like to finish with the words of David McIntyre from Watershed Stories. You are a memory now, and your presence resonates within me, moving me to remember your laughter and the love that you lavished on your friends. You're a memory now, a dream that plays in my heart every day, every moment. Dear friend, rest in peace.